Before I get to it, just want to say that if you go to playandcollect.com right now and use the coupon code PLASTIC, you can get an additional 5% off your order, and you can use it as many times as you want. What's up, Funkheads? A couple of weeks ago, I made a video on what I thought were the top 10 best NYCC Funko Pops. And if you don't know what that is, NYCC stands for the New York Comic Con. It happens once a year, and Funko makes some exclusive pops for it. But in that video, I mentioned that I might not be able to make a worst of list because in general, I feel that the NYCC pops are all pretty good. There's only been a handful of pops that were just out and out bad, and for various reasons. And that's why this is only going to be a top 5 worst video instead of top 10. But of course, there's going to be some dishonorable mentions. Remember that this is just my opinion. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. This kind of stuff is pretty subjective, so keep in mind that this is just my opinion. I dislike this Bistan pop from Rogue One for several reasons. First of all, I don't really think it looks like the character from the movie, and I find it to be just an ugly pop. And I mean, it's ugly because the character is ugly. The character looks like a chimpanzee mated with an otter or something. It's just an ugly, ugly design. But the way his head gets so wide towards the neck and he doesn't appear to have a neck just makes it not translate well into pop form. And this character was barely in the movie, which I know that they do that with Star Wars. You know, if a character's in a movie for a couple of seconds, they'll make a figure out of it. But, you know, they do that after they've ran out of all the other main characters to do, you know? I think this one was totally unnecessary. And I feel that he was a New York Comic Con exclusive because if he wasn't, I think he'd be like that Varmint character from The Force Awakens. That pop also looks nothing like what that character looks like in the movie. And Varmint was in it for so little that even after several viewings, I still didn't spot him. I had to like go on the internet and just like look it up. But yeah, I feel like Bistan would be like Varmint and just warm the shelves if he wasn't an exclusive. I remember a lot of you not liking that I put Qui-Gon Jinn on my worst of 2016 list. Actually, he was a dishonorable mention like he is here. And I don't actually put him in the list because the pop does look pretty good. It looks just like Qui-Gon Jinn, easily identifiable as such outside of the box. But what annoyed a lot of people about this is that he is one of the coolest characters to come out of the prequels and was probably the most wanted character out of the prequels to be made, except for they made him extremely limited and only available at the con. He wasn't even shared anywhere. And it's just super annoying, especially for like a hardcore Star Wars fan that even likes the prequels. You can go out and buy like Varmint everywhere, but you can't buy Qui-Gon Jinn. It's super annoying. Dwight from The Walking Dead has a decent sculpt overall, except for I think his hair can be a little stringier. This almost looks like the Kurt Cobain head, but I think the body mold is good. I like how they have him holding a gun and he's got nice details on him. Where I think they really screwed up though, is the color that they painted the scarring on his face. You can see on the box that it's not that drastic of a change, and if you look at a picture of him from the actual show, he just has scarring on it. It's not all pink. It's so drastic on the pop that they made him look like Two-Face or Mint Berry Crunch or something. I think they should have just made it flesh color, and the scarring on the sculpt is enough to make it look like Dwight. The 8-bit foot soldiers aren't necessarily bad. It's a great one to have if you have the Shredder and the Ninja Turtles. A purple 8-bit foot soldier is the perfect addition to that collection, but unfortunately, Funko implemented that cheap tactic of making each one of these only limited to 500 pieces to create an artificial demand, especially since if you have one of these, except for maybe the purple one, you'd want all of them. Like, why would I just want the orange one? If I was to get only one, it'd be the purple one. And that's why the actual purple one is the one that's worth the more. If you look at Pop Price Guide, it's worth over $100. I don't know. I feel like these extremely low limited numbers like this are kind of cheap. I don't mind it so much like on the Freddy Funkos from Fun Days or something like that. That's a very special event. They're Freddy Funkos. They're not major characters or pieces that people need to complete a set. But these foot soldiers are. So to me, it's a little annoying. All right, now on to the worst of the worst. The James Gunn Pub. I'll start out by saying I'm glad they made a James Gunn Pop. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like to add this one right there with their Guardians of the Galaxy Pops. But of course, he's limited to 500 pieces. That's an extremely low number, but that's not even the main reason I dislike this pop. If you look closely, the head is just a reused head. It's from the Scott McCall pop from the Teen Wolf series. It's the exact same head. All they did was slap the eyeglasses on, make the hair brown instead of black, and paint the eyebrows a little bit different. If you just look at that head, it doesn't look like James Gunn. James Gunn has kind of wild hair, and you can even see on the artwork on the box that the hair is like more wild in the artwork, just not on the pop, so it doesn't look like him. I'm not sure if the body is repurposed or not. I've heard somewhere that it is, but I couldn't find what pop has that same body, so that could have been some misinformation. If you know specifically what pop that's from though, let me know in the comments below. But I don't think it is. I think the body is original. They probably can't do it, but it would have been cool if he was holding like a baby Groot. That would have been awesome, but I'm sure they can't do that. Something else that I found really annoying about this pop is that they actually shared this with the Funko shop, but who knows how many. I'd be surprised really if it was over 50. But yeah, I waited to try to get this guy. I remember refreshing when it was going to go up like literally every second. And as soon as it showed up, it was sold out, which is understandable because there's such low numbers. But then what pissed me off and a lot of people off was that some douchebag was bragging about grabbing a whole bunch of them, like 40 or something like that. And at first he could have just been trolling. But I remember looking on eBay a few days later and some guy did have like 20 or 40 of these guys for sale. I forget the exact number, but it was a lot of them. He had them up for sale and then you can see right there they had like 25 available. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? How did one guy get so many of a pop that's limited to 500? Not sure if he got them at the con, not sure if they fell off a truck, not sure if he's figured out how to cheat the system online. Anyway he did it, I really hope Funko figures out how to stop them. But if they can't, make more than 500 pops. Especially of like someone like James Gunn. I'm pretty sure that if they made 3,000 of them, they would sell them all. Especially with that con sticker on them. This new sculpt of the classic Batgirl looks really good and so does this glam. Some people didn't like them re-releasing this one because the original classic one is worth so much. But when they redo it completely like this, I don't mind it so much because it's not like they just took the original and repainted it. When they do that, it definitely devalues the original, but in this case, it really doesn't. So far so good, right? What makes this pop so awful though is that it has to be one of the worst paint jobs I have ever seen by Funko. And this is on a newer pop, right? You see bad paint jobs on some of the old ones, that's understandable, but it's a lot less forgiving on some of these newer ones. Where it got really bad was on her boots. You got a lot of that yellow bleeding into the black. It looked really fuzzy, and not just on a couple of them. I mean, this was on all of them. I remember seeing about 15 of these in the store, and they all looked really, really bad. I ended up picking one of the best ones, but it's still not that great. And for there to be like one kind of okay one out of 15 is pretty bad. Another spot where it looks really fuzzy is just like the face in general. It looks like the head was molded in black and they painted the flesh color over it, but it looks like it needed another coat or some thicker paint or something because it's very obvious that there is some black hiding behind that face color. It just looks really bad, and it's a shame because this is a nice sculpt on a popular character, and they did make a lot of them so everybody could get one. They just did a piss poor job on it. Okay, so I don't watch Trollhunters, so maybe I'm completely missing the point on why this gym with armor is so amazing and merits having an exclusive at New York Comic Con, because to me, the original is better because, I mean, it comes with that little gnome. This NYCC exclusive is just a repaint of the original pop without the gnome. Like, how is that cooler? Like I said, I don't watch the show, so maybe that red armor is super, super significant, but I even think that the silver armor looks better. I definitely think this is one of those cases where they slap a sticker on the pop to attempt to sell more. And even then, I feel like this one didn't light the world on fire when it came to sales. He was pretty easily available for a long time, maybe even still. But yeah, totally a case of using NYCC to try to sell a weak pop, in my opinion. Not too much to say about this one. It's got a good sculpt. It looks like the character. Although I do wish they would have painted a little bit of an eyelid on one of his eyes to kind of mimic Forrest Whitaker's like droopy eye that he has. That might be insensitive to the actor. Maybe the actor didn't want that, and I get that. Would have made it look more like the character. But what I find lame about this one is that the original Saw Gerrera that came out was exclusive to Walmart, and he was bald. In the movie, I don't even remember him being bald. I think someone mentioned once that in a very, very quick, like half a second shot, you see a bald Saw Gerrera, but in the rest of the movie, he has his hair. So to me, this almost looks like a pop that was made to like fix an original pop that there was an error on or something. Like somehow the wrong artwork got approved and that's the one that made it into Walmart. This should have been the pop to begin with. Probably never should have been a bald one. And for sure, this is another case of them using an NYCC sticker to sell a pop, because could you imagine they put out that Walmart Saw Gerrera and then they put out this version of Saw Gerrera just in like the next wave? Who would buy that? It'd feel even more lazy and more cheap. I really do think Funko needs to stop double dipping the fans like this. It reminds me of the practice that a lot of comic book companies did in the 90s that created that comic book bubble and made everything worthless. They should really stop some of this more egregious double dipping. And I think a lot of you guessed it. Shane Walsh, in my opinion, is the worst New York Comic Con exclusive pop ever. Out of the box, this doesn't look like Shane Walsh. You can take this Shane Walsh pop, custom make a Prison Break box, and all of a sudden you got Wentworth Miller's character from Prison Break. I think it looks more like that guy than it does Shane Walsh. And if the design isn't bad enough, the execution really puts it over the top as one of the worst. I mean, why are his eyebrows so reddish brown? And what is up with the way they did his hair? Like, it looks like they actually painted it that reddish brown color of the eyebrows and then took a look at it and going like, dude, we can't try to sell that to people. It looks way too bad. So they went over it with this gray, because you can see, if you look close, there's like a fuzzy line between the gray and the flesh color of like that darker reddish brown color. Like, you can totally see it. This looks like a pop they try to fix, and it came out really bad. It looks like an old lady with a shaved head. Just a poor design, poor execution of a very popular character. This is definitely one that Funko should revisit in the future and completely overhaul and make a completely new pop to do this character justice. Alright guys, those were my picks for the worst NYCC Funko Pops. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree, which ones you think are the worst, what characters are you hoping they make for this year's NYCC, what your experience was trying to get that James Gunn pop if you even tried, or anything else you'd like to say. Thanks for watching and take it easy.